What's the most embarrassing thing a parent has done to you? For those who didn't grow up in a time where you shared a phone with multiple extensions with your parents, consider yourselves lucky. For those who did, me. Hi, it's Cage. I was wondering if you were going to go to the mall tomorrow. Girl I liked. Yay. I think so. It's Saturday, so I usually go with my friends. Me. Well, if you're there, do you want to, meet somewhere and have lunch? Girl I liked. Yay. That sounds good. Where do you want to go? Me. Well, I was thinking. Click. Numbers dialing. Mom. Hello? Me. Yelling upstairs. Mom. I'm on the phone. Mom. Through the phone. Cage. Are you on the phone? I was calling my friend Reva. She's having some people over tomorrow and I wanted to know if she wanted any potato salad. Me. Yelling upstairs. Mom. I'm on the phone with girl I liked. Get off. Mom. If you want, I can make a little extra so you can take it to judo. I know how you get tired after class. Oh, I hope I get to go this week. You look so handsome in your judo outfit. Click. Me. Sorry, my mom can be so embarrassing. Mom. I don't think she's there anymore, honey. Had my first boyfriend in middle school and brought him home one time. At one point my mom made him bring me my clean laundry, and by that I mean a single pair of pink High School Musical underwear. I cried from embarrassment, but he was actually pretty cool about it and comforted me. Then he cheated on me. My dad, influenced partly by Bad Boys 2, decided to mess with my boyfriend on my first date by acting like a hard butt. He filled a whiskey bottle with tea, and when he answered the door he chugged the whole thing while staring my boyfriend down, then tried to break the bottle over his own head. The date was cancelled due to the hospital trip, and I became known as the girl with the batshit insane father. Don't concuss yourself this time became the running joke once I was able to get a date again. Okay, but this is funny AF. When I was a senior in college I was working a part-time job. They offered to make my current position full-time once I graduated. Before I got a chance to respond, my father found out and contacted my supervisor expressing concerns about the offer and the fact I was still in college. How my father found out still boggles my mind, but when my supervisor told me that my dad called him was probably the most embarrassing thing either of my parents have done. Wow, pure lucky. I've heard of people rescinding job offers if a parent intervenes like that. After I submitted a job application to a manager when I was 16, my mother barged up and started going on and on about how I was really shy and not much of a people person. Yeah, that's what a manager wants to hear about an applicant for customer service. Maybe not the most embarrassing, but certainly top 10. My mom went through this phase where she would talk during movies, specifically about what's going on in the movie. She was also terrible at paying attention to what was going on, so oftentimes what she was explaining was incorrect. In addition, she would try to talk over the movie. Mum would occasionally have to yell to make sure she was heard over the action scenes. Imagine, if you will, watching the aftermath of the stampede scene from The Lion King and the person next to you yelling Simba is sad because her dad died. Unfortunately, this isn't a fun story. When I was 16 I had a big birthday party at our house. It was wonderful. I got to invite close to 30 friends including new people from school. My dad made sure to have my favorite chocolate mousse cake as dessert. It turned into just a bunch of teenagers having a great time and talking. Then my mom was suddenly drunk. We never even noticed her drinking. She began microwaving slices of cheese on a paper plate and eating it with her fingers. Most of the kids didn't notice except for my BFF who had some prior knowledge of her addiction. Kids began leaving, but not before my mom then began asking one of my other friends who was 15 about her sex life and was she doing one of the other boys at the party. I thought I would die while standing and watching it happen. I had a male friend come over after school, and my best friend neighbor was going to join soon after. They were dating at the time. Anyway, we get off the bus, start walking down the alleyway, and notice my mom pull out of the driveway. So we walk up to the car and I ask where she's going. Mom, we're heading to the grocery store. Did you need anything? Me, number, I think I'm good. Mom, okay, well I noticed the cucumber in your room was looking a bit soft, so I'll grab you another one. My friend looked like he was about to pee himself. Was there an actual cucumber or was she messing with you? My mom told everyone 20-30 people I got my period. Thanks mom. I am 21 and my mom still tries to order my steak for me. I ask for medium rare and she says no, heck, have medium, and I say no, medium rare, and she goes okay, whatever, that's fine. My 350-pound mother streaked in front of my boyfriend and my friends for $100. I was only 16 and that image still haunts me. My mom tried to talk to a girl on my behalf. Turns out she was in 9th grade. I am 21. Bought me a diary, encouraging me to write in it. Later stole said diary, broke the lock off, forged a bunch of made up crushes in there, and then read it aloud at the dinner table to humiliate me. My mother was not very kind. That's psychotic. When I was 10 or so, I was struggling with being too big for kids' clothes and too skinny for most juniors' clothes. I was trying on this dress with a mesh area around the neck in the department store dressing room, and it was so big on me that my nipples literally showed through the mesh part that was supposed to be around my collarbones. Kids that age are moody, so I just lost it in frustration and started crying. My mom was like, oh, just let me see, but I didn't want her to see because that meant showing the whole fitting area, my nipples. Finally I showed her, and when she saw how upset I was, instead of comforting me, she decided to mimic me, fake cry in my voice saying, oh my god, everyone can see my nipples, and flash everyone in the dressing room. My parents, Southeast Asian, told one of my best friends, who is a girl and Caucasian behind my back, that if she was the same ethnicity as them, they would ask me to marry her. I am sure they thought this would be very flattering. I found out later, and to this day, over a decade later, still makes me cringe big time. Imagine how heartbreaking that would have been if she actually had a crush on you. It was my 16th birthday and my family went to a fancy Italian restaurant. The staff came over to sing happy birthday to me, and my dad started singing along loudly in a bad Italian opera kind of accent. We are not Italian. The staff was so stunned they just stopped singing. The other customers around us laughed and applauded, and the staff just walked away. I was mortified. When I was young we had a pajama day at school, but I always just wore my boxers to sleep. Well, obviously a kid can't show up to school in just underwear, but I was too little dumb to understand that. Why my mom allowed me to go and even drove me there, I have no idea. It was the most embarrassing day of my life, and the school had to call my parents to come pick me up halfway through the day. I'm so sorry you went through that. I've had actual nightmares of going to school in my underwear. That's so fricked up. I had C-cup boobs when I was 11 years old. My mom loved to loudly talk about them to anyone who would listen. Yeah, she's only 11. You wouldn't think from the way she's filled out up top. Then I'd start crying from the humiliation and she'd tell me to lighten up. That is Suru not right. I developed early too, and it's bad enough when you're the only girl in class with boobs without someone pointing it out. I can't even imagine going through that. Tell everybody at Thanksgiving dinner at her boyfriend's house about my tween bout with anorexia. I didn't want to be there in the first place, and she just kept going on and on about how I had carrots for dinner for a year until I had to shout at her to stop. I was 13 and waiting for a ride with my sister and parents at Dollywood. Across the way, two very pretty girls about my age were smiling at me. I smiled back and acted all cool because I was a skater boy with skater hair and my Vision streetwear and some shirt with a skull on it or something. It was working too. The girls whispered to each other and giggled, and one even waved at me. Then my mom reached her dang hand in my face and popped a pimple right there public. The girls were aghast. I was humiliated. I have never forgiven her. My mum pulled up my skirt, causing me to involuntarily flash a room full of people at a Christmas dinner. I was absolutely mortified. She wanted to check for self-harm scars on my thighs. Apparently, I've never self-harmed before. She should not be allowed to consume alcohol. That is wrong on so many levels. When I was 5 or so, my pre-K did a play based on Noah's Ark. It was a pre-K attached to a church. We were instructed that our costume was supposed to be raincoats, rain boots, umbrellas. I didn't have any of those things but begged my dad to get me at least one of them so I'd fit in and follow the guidelines. Fast forward, the night of the play. I'm frantically scanning the audience because my dad is always late. He finally shows up and brings me a life jacket. I had to stand up there with all the kids in their little raincoats and a life jacket. I was really embarrassed. Dad's defense was that I was the only kid who would have survived the flood. I can laugh now, but I sure wasn't laughing then. My father was a huge racist and used pejorative terms to describe other people. I knew about the bad words for African Americans, Chinese people, and Japanese people, so I never said them. Little me didn't know about the other words. I used one in class to answer a question my history teacher asked, and he was properly horrified. I was immediately removed from class and my confused butt was grilled for hours about my word usage. I finally said I don't know what I did wrong. My dad says it all of the time to describe people from that country. They called my mom. I had to go home. There was a shouting match between my parents and my dad's mother that night, and I was beaten soundly by my father. That's really sad. The school handled that horribly. Obviously, your dad did too. My mom is kind of a dong, so take that for what it is. My first major high school boyfriend. He came to our house. My mother literally put me in the living room, stand with my feet apart and my arms open, and she pointed on my body where he was allowed to touch me. I felt like I wasn't even human or able to consent to my own autonomy. Maybe I didn't want to be touched where she pointed. It was mortifying. We didn't date much longer after that. My mother has always tried to be that edgy mom that she thinks she's funny and is the cool mom, but everyone has always found her incredibly cringy, especially as we get older. On the flip side, when my brother was at the same age, he was thrown a pack of condoms and was told she wasn't taking care of a grandchild. I was 10 years old and my two best friends, girl and boy, were sleeping over that night, and my dad, the oversharer that he is, proceeds to tell my friends the story on how I was conceived in the back of a car on a cold night somewhere. I was so mortified and my friends were just as uncomfortable as I was, and we collectively agreed to ignore the whole idea. Also, he brought the cake out to the lounge wearing only his undies and a bow tie. It was a rough night. Also, he brought the cake out to the lounge wearing only his undies and a bow tie. The one is the most disturbing part. My mother insisted on seeing exactly what I bought for clothes to make sure they weren't too baggy until I went away to college. When I was 17, we were buying jeans at the Gap, and when I wouldn't basically do a fashion show for her for every pair of pants I tried on, she crawled her 58-year-old self under the door of the dressing room where I was trying them on. I'm a guy, and the dressing room had a line out the door. Everybody saw, everybody heard. Oh hi there, seems like we have the same mother. Mom made me call my 8th grade social studies teacher at home to ask if I could use him as a job reference. He lived with his parents still and I asked for him by first name. He waited for me at my locker the next day to tell me never to phone his house again, parents' house, and never call him by his first name again. Didn't get the job either. Mom denies this ever happened and claims she would never demand I do something so strange. I came home from school with head lice. Instead of telling the teacher, who would send a letter home to everyone without specifically naming which child they noticed had lice, my mother rang every person in my class that she had the phone number of. She would have a chat with the parent, or yeah, she has head lice, so you need to check your kid. I probably got it from someone in my class and the whole class likely already had lice, but kids don't realize that, so the whole class were calling my dirty and saying I infected them. It was horrible. I was hysterically crying while she called people. I had lice in 7th grade. My mom was really nice about it, but the whole freaking process was mortifying without your mom blabbing to everyone. I still get really upset if someone tries to put a hat on me that isn't mine, or whatever, if it ever happened again. So help me, I just shave my freaking head down to the skin no matter the length of my hair. When I was in my early 20s and living at home, my father took a business call for me. People say we sound exactly alike on the phone, so when he was mistaken for me he ran with it and was in butt to the caller. I probably lost out on a low 4-figure amount of money because of it. I used to think it was because he didn't approve of who I was dating at the time, but after events in recent years I think he was just letting his butthole side shine because of the opportunity to do so. I have aggressive Crohn's that started showing up around 8th grade. My mom took me to all of my doctor appointments, which were all pretty embarrassing. because no teenage boy wants their mom involved in their butt-related illness. One particular visit, we were about halfway through the appointment when she whipped out a Cool Whip tub. Turns out, the following night I used the bathroom and it didn't all go down, so she thought it would be helpful to load that up in our poor people Tupperware and haul it on into the doctor so he could look it over. He had the confused "what am I supposed to do with poop in a Cool Whip tub" face for a good 5-10 seconds, then politely dismissed it. Who'd have thought that there isn't any medical knowledge to be gained from fishing poop out of the toilet, refrigerating it overnight, and schlepping it up for an office visit. When I was a senior in high school, I had left the lights on in my truck all day and had to call my dad to come jumpstart my car. Now my father is 6'1" and has a very large belly. Mother rolls up in cloth shorts and no shirt to jumpstart my car. Then there was the time a few years earlier that my mother had sent him up to school to give me a sandwich before a football game. The man's boxers were longer than his shorts. He's always there for you when you frick up though, isn't he? My mom is the worst. She does it unintentionally. I'm 34 and we hang out a lot. In stores when we split up, I can hear her yelling my name from across the store. I've asked her 100 times to use her cell phone or look for me. I never hear anyone else's names being yelled out. It happens so much that I've stopped going out with her as much. Also, we had a family dinner with aunts, uncles, and cousins. And I don't know how it came up because I was in another conversation, but I heard her say, "Gina Linetti for Prez has a gynecologist appointment next week." Why? We were at a restaurant too. Everything went silent. My mother dressed me and my sister as Nazis to a local fete. We sat on a float and waved at people. We won the competition, but I don't feel right about it. When I was 11, I was taken in for questioning regarding Greek distribution out of our house. My dad had marijuana growing in the basement, and he used and sold it to neighbors and friends. When the police raided the house, my dad was at work. They asked me if I knew what was in the room. Because I had knowledge of it, I guess it was enough to bring me in for questioning. Even cuffed me and everything. My dad didn't show up for almost 8 more hours. As you can imagine, in a small town like the one I grew up, people talked, and I lived next to a massive apartment complex. I was the talk of the town for almost 2 years because of it. Who cuffs a friggin' 11-year-old OMG? My mom was pretty fricked up, so I have an endless list. The one that comes to mind right now is the time she sent me to go pick my younger brother from the pool. I, being a 13-year active kid, joined him and started playing with his friends instead. I guess she got tired of waiting for me and decided to come to the pool to check up on us. She came and found me in the pool, yes, wearing regular clothes, shame on me, playing Marco Polo with the guys. She yelled my name, took her slipper off, and threw it on my head. Then she went on calling me a S for swimming with guys. Every guy there went quiet. I think the silence was one of the most unbearable thing. Still prickles my skin when I think about it. I was so embarrassed. I remember that walk home, my head down in shame. Can't believe I thought I did something wrong. Cried myself to sleep. What's funny is she didn't even ask my brother to come back with us. Frick you, Mom. I'm glad our relationship is better now, but you made my childhood a nightmare. Frick you. I feel for you. My mom is also a crazy jerk. I haven't told anyone other than my fiance, but I have suicidal thoughts and have been really depressed lately, and I'm even taking time off work. When I told my mom, she said, "Why do you tell me you have suicidal thoughts? I can't do anything about it. I can't save you. You are not a S." Frick our moms. You have been visited by the ingenious Joe. Comment brain so you always see the glass half full. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day, you magnificent people.